In today's video, we're going to be taking a trip inside of Goodwill and a Goodwill bin outlet store, grabbing items under $5 to give you some inspiration on upcycling those pieces into new home decor for your home. I feel like plain old frames are extremely underrated, so next time you're in Goodwill, grab some frames, people, and keep these ideas in mind. They're super easy, they don't take a lot of skill, and they don't even require you to do anything to the frames themselves. We're going to create a cohesive collection using these along with what I already have on my wall. Now, I love this frame and I love the different colors that are inside of it. So I wanted to make that still the focal point by adding just a little hint of something. And to do that, I grabbed some vintage lace. I just trimmed it down to size and then I grabbed some painter's tape. You could absolutely glue it down or use a stapler. I did not want to because in the event that I wanted to switch it out, my mood changes, I could and there wouldn't be holes or glue all stuck in it. Plus, I planned on reselling the piece and wanted to make sure that whoever ends up owning it could also swap it out. This frame had a large center, so I wanted to put something in it and grabbed a floral ring. Now, you could absolutely do this with a wreath as well, little rustic wreath or whatever kind of wreath. I'm just going to use a floral ring and some old torn up cloth that I had in my stash. Now I'm just keeping this really simple, and I also am not going to glue anything down onto this frame, so whoever ends up getting this piece as well, because I plan on reselling it, will not have to worry about the frame being damaged. I applied a little bit of hot glue onto the cloth and then I pressed down the other piece so this way it's still moved. And this gives you the freedom to be able to cut this off and replace it whenever you want to switch out your home decor. I love how the colors in the floral ring actually match the frame and the other one we just DIY'd. For this beautiful oval frame, I just placed on top of a nail and then I grabbed a little floral piece and put some painter's tape bits on the back and stuck it to the wall. I think these pieces looked amazing around my mini shelves and my teeny tiny mini collectibles, and I'll be sad to see these frames go. Over in my Goodwill's houseware section, they have a little craft area. Well, I mean, it's not little, it is this whole long shelf. And I felt like I hit the jackpot this day because I got a ton of stamps. And these were all 50% off because it was Black Tag Day. I was so excited. I'm going to be sharing several ways that you can use stamps in your home decor. And people, and look what else I found at Goodwill. That's right, Dollar Tree pieces, and they were actually $1 each, so I felt like I hit the jackpot. Okay, people, and we're going to use these as they were intended to, hold photos. Only we're going to be using some junk journal pieces. These are little junk journal sets that I actually have on my website, and we're going to take a piece of fabric to create a photo story. Kind of little, listen, roll on with me. It'll make sense in a minute. You can use whatever you would like for this idea, remix it with what works best for you. But I wanted to use a piece of fabric and I had this light cream color one and thought the stamp would show up perfectly. I did tear it because I wanted the fabric to be tattered and worn. I didn't want it to look new. I wanted it to have that shabby vibe around the edges. I had my pieces of fabric cut down to size. I then needed to bust out my ink pad. Use whatever color ink you want, people. You can get really creative with this, obviously. I just went with black and I'm grabbing this Thinking of You stamp and I'm pressing it down gingerly until it leaves the imprint. Look at that. And then for this one, it was actually brand new. I felt kind of bad I was marking it up, but just in the sections where you could see the people and the kids walking up the path, I wanted to make that visible on our piece of cloth. And then I took another stamp and added some little floral pieces around the edge and then just popped them in the frames. This is such an easy and creative way to mix Dollar Tree with some thrifted items that you found, and you can change these out all year long. You could put little Easter eggs on here, you could put little Christmas trees on here. You can absolutely change the junk journal pieces you have in the background to match whatever season or however you have your home decorated at the time. We're going to need a mason jar for this thrifted stamp idea. We're about to get a little eccentric, okay? A little creative, a little eccentric. Just roll on with me. We're going to need some clay. And for those wondering, my favorite clay is paper clay. I am out of that. I've been using this random stuff I had in my stash, and it worked just fine for this. We're going to take some small sections of this clay and roll it super thin, and then take a stamp, any stamp. You can use whatever stamps you would like for this. I'm gonna use 2 different ones to get several different images. And in the event that your stamp has a lot of teeny tiny little sections like mine does on this one, you're gonna need to bring on in the hammer and just give her a little tappity tap, okay, over and over and over again. You might be asking yourself, Brandy, why do we need to do that? The stamp should, if the clay was thicker and the sections in the stamp were thicker, it would not be a problem. But the sections in the stamp were super tiny, and the clay that we're using, the amount, it's super thin. And the reason why it's super thin is we're going to be creating a broken pottery look over top of this mason jar. I know. Listen, it's really cool looking, and it's a little, like I said, it's a little eccentric. I wanted to do something different, get a little crafty. It's been a minute since I've kind of went off kilter here. This won't be for everybody, but it might give you some ideas for some other things. To attach our clay, we're going to be using Type-On Quick and Thick. Now, you use whatever you would like, but I highly recommend this stuff. It works well with clay and glass, okay? Gingerly press your piece down. Do not press too hard because it's wet and you will possibly mess up the stamp, especially because the clay is so thin. I've seen these really cool broken pottery pieces while I've been out. They're actual ceramic and pottery. You could probably do this on a piece of ceramic or a piece of pottery. That would be fine as well. But I just wanted to do it on a mason jar and see if I could recreate some of the things I've seen in the stores. They will take like the bright, either like silver or a black or gold in the background, and I just wanted to do mine a little bit different. And all you're going to do is just keep repeating the process. A thin piece of clay, imprint it with whatever stamps you want, and then apply the glue and tappity tap 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 the piece in sections all over the mason jar, or whatever you're putting this on, until you're happy with how many pieces of clay and the way you have the stamps spread out. And then you're going to want to allow this to dry overnight. For the top around the jar, I just squeezed on a nice clump of clay around the rim, and you could absolutely do this however you would like. This is, again, just how I chose to go about it. When your piece is all dry, then it's time to pick your poison with your paint. I highly recommend making sure whatever you're using is glass friendly. I decided to go with Waverly chalk paint in these 2 colors and a pouncer, so I could tappity tap tap tap. First, the pretty pink color. Y'all, I'm manifesting spring. I'm not gonna lie. I really wanted to do this like white, and so I had a whole different idea, and then as I'm doing this, I'm like, we're manifesting spring over here. I am so over winter this year. The weather has been so moody, and I can't take no more snow. Okay, enough of the nervous breakdown. Back to our project. Look how pretty. I thought this looked really cool as it was, but you know, we're not going to leave it alone like this. Instead, we're going to take the white chalk paint now with a very dry pouncer and do a light, dry tappity tap tamping and smooshing all over our piece. So we have white paint kind of everywhere, but we still see a whole lot of the pink. Now, one idea, again, when I was going to do the other idea, I was going to do white all over everything, and then I was going to have like silver or gold coming through behind the pieces that were broken to kind of make it look like a rock, a stone piece, if you will. But with this one, I was like, you know what? I kind of want to do this one all over the piece and then grab some gilding wax and go over the parts where the stamp was to bring out those raised sections so they kind of pop. And then I grabbed me a bird's nest and a bird, and I shoved in the top of that sucker. It would have probably looked a little bit better if I added some white florals in the nest to kind of tie in the colors. I did, stage it up really cute. And I think the idea is so creative. And I actually have a couple other ways I'd like to do this in the future. Maybe not with a piece of glass. Sometimes I get lucky at Goodwill and come across one of my favorite things to make little DIY projects with: vintage wooden spools. Now, it's rare, but when I see them, I pick them up. There are so many awesome things you can do with them. Today, I'm going to be sharing how I've been turning these into the most adorable little bird's nests or teeny tiny floral vases. First of all, we're going to do three. We're going to make a little cohesive collection here. First, we're going to start off by taking a little bit of Titebond's Quick and Thick and rubbing it around the thread. This is going to keep everything in place as you are working with your piece. Then I'm grabbing out my teeny tiny stash of little floral bits and picking out items that I want to attach on to our wood thread spools. Then I'm going to go into my fabric stash and grab me a nice floraled piece. Now I'm only going to use this for the large one, and I'm just cutting off a small section and tearing it down. If you want to completely cut yours, it's up to you. The aesthetic that you want is your choice. I wanted mine to be frayed around the edges. So just tore a little piece out, and then take some Titebond Quick and Thick and attach our fabric to the center of our largest wood spool. Now this is completely up to you. If you do not want to have everything glued, you can completely create your pieces however you would like. I'm gluing these down. I do sell these over on Whatnot, and I also like to make them just for myself. And I was happy with that. I then went fishing in my little charm bucket here, my little charm container, I should say, and pulled out a little butterfly. And these are just charms that you put on bracelets. If you do not like the little circle bit, like I don't on all of the things, you can bring on in your wire cutter and snippity snip 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 that piece right on off, like I'm gonna show you right here. But absolutely leave it on. It's kind of, for me, depends on which project I'm working on. Some I'll snip off, some I'll leave on. Completely up to you. I just wanted to show you here that you can absolutely use wire cutters and it comes right off if you want to make yours at home. Just be careful because, they're wire cutters. All things are tiny going on here, and, we don't want to have accidents. I'm not responsible for your DIY decisions at home. Okay, when we're all done with that, we're going to add more Quick and Thick Titebond glue on here, and then just start decorating where we attached that fabric so we don't even see the seam. And in case you're about to ask me where I get the florals, where I get the charms, Michael's is a place that I get those tiny pieces, and Hobby Lobby is a place that I get those teeny tiny pieces. I am sure you can probably search Amazon as well, but for the most part, I will check those two stores out. But get creative with this. You could absolutely use pearls, you could use beads, you could use little gems. There are so many different ways that you can create your thread spool just to add a little bit of character. And for our nest people, we're just going to grab some messy moss. And one of the things I like to do is put a little bit of the Titebond Quick and Thick on my fingers and smush the moss together before I even apply it on top of the thread spool. This kind of just helps because it's a mess, okay? You know this, I know it. It's getting everywhere. It's getting all over the place, and it makes us not happy while we're crafting. All right, rant over. Anyhow, doing that helps contain the moss so it's not as messy. And then I'll apply some on top of the wood spool and press the moss down. And then I go grab some clay. And I will take a little bit of that Titebond Quick and Thick and still have it on my fingers and press it around the clay. So this way, once it dries, not only is it going to become hard because it's clay, but the glue is also going to contribute to making sure that it's going to be completely hard and not come apart. And I think that's a really good idea, especially if you're going to resell these a lot. So the eggs, they stay intact. But seriously, people, how flippin' adorable. If this isn't adorable enough, you know what? Let's make a teeny tiny one out of this little spool. This is the smallest one I've ever made, okay? we're not doing anything to the thread. We're not adding no fabric. Instead, we're going to decorate the top. Now, I did want to show you how beautiful this wood spool is, and I was really sad that I kind of destroying it and covering it up. But you know, sometimes we gotta do things, and I'm keeping this little one. This is my favorite one I've ever made. So don't try coming to hang out with me over on Whatnot Live and tell me to run it, because the pink thread spool is staying with me. Okay. And for anyone wondering what is Whatnot, it is an app that you can download. It is a live selling platform. I do usually keep a link down in the description box below. I'm over there at Craft Live every week. I'm over there selling crafty items every week, along with my own personal TDS creative brand, and I answer questions and help any way I can. Now back to the project. Once I have this moss all down in place, I give it a little trim. Okay, and then it was time to make our little teeny tiny baby eggs, and I made 3, and I made them all different sizes. You can make your eggs however you want. I just usually rub them in my palm, you know, make sure I got a little bit of wood glue on the tip of my fingers, and then, you know, kind of smush them in the table if you need to get that little teeny pointy edge. And sometimes it doesn't even matter if they're oval. I am good. And yes, I busted out a pair of needle nose pliers to help me apply these and put all the little floral accents. I put some greenery in here. I put little flower. I just decorated this thing up, and I think it turned out absolutely darling. If you're not a minis fan, you're probably looking at this project like, Brandy, what am I going to do with this? I am sorry. Okay, I'm a minis lover, and I'm absolutely smitten. Okay, I'm sharing for all the mini lovers out there. And even if you're not a mini lover, how can you not love that? Okay, for our next one, we're going to take some of my TDS Creative dry rubber transfers. And people, this one is being discontinued. So if you're hopping over at the DIYstruggle.com to buy my transfers, which are amazing, by the way, this set right here, it is being discontinued, and I am not bringing it back. So when I'm out of it, I am out of it. It's called Harmony. Taking a little section here and just rubbing it on the wood part, and then adding a little bit of glue to add some florals, a little bit of greenery. And for this one, we're just going to make a vase out of it and shove some mini flowers right in the top. You can absolutely seal over that dry rub on transfer if you would like. And then I just staged them up on my little minis shelf that I have. Yes, people, I really do love minis. I really do collect them. Look at my adorable pink hen on a nest. Her name is Jennifer. Yes, she has a name. She's my favorite mini. Okay, I love her. Working on collecting all of them, actually. Let me know in the comments below if you plan on making any of these little wooden spool pieces for your home. And as always, people, thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. If you're looking for more Goodwill inspiration, check out this video right here. Until next time.